Hey, sports porchers, it's your hockey Jesus, and I'm back with some analysis on Stanley Cup Eve night. That's right, tomorrow night it all kicks off. The big quest for the Stanley Cup finally enters its final stages, and of course, it's the Florida Panthers versus the Edmonton Oilers. The Oil have the upper hand this year. They've got the home advantage, so the first two games will be in Edmonton starting tomorrow night. Like hopefully you caught me on the porch last night with the boys. I'm your hockey Jesus. I am giving you great analysis tonight. Thank you for clicking on that button. If you haven't, let me just give you a brief analysis of who I am. I'm a hockey Jesus. I'm just a guy. I love hockey. I'm passionate about it. I've been doing this podcast, this YouTube station for a couple years now. I love the Pittsburgh Penguins. I give analysis after every Pittsburgh Penguin game, and I feel absolutely 100% confident in giving you the skinny on what's going to happen this series versus the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. And you know what? Let's just get right to it. First, we're going to talk about the makeup of each team, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the Florida Panthers first. The Florida Panthers are really an interesting study as far as how the team was put together. They only have four guys on their team that they drafted: Barkov, Ekblad, Lundell, and Kolakov. Four guys. Everybody else was, brought in, was matched up to, basically be part of this team. And I think that's very unique in a team. Maybe not unique for Florida, because let's face it, people come to Florida, they love the weather. And I think, part of the reason Florida is able to get a team together is because, they got some advantages down there when it comes to that. But this Florida team is by no means a joke. Three Stanley Cups in a row. And they did it because of these lines right here. And the thing is, they can run all four of these lines, one after the other after the other. And honestly, they're all about the same age. I looked it up. They average, right around 29 years. It actually ends up to be like 28 years and 8 months, the whole average of all the skaters. And the makeup of each line is really about the same, somewhere around 28 plus, 29 years old. And I think they play very similar. So each line can just get to the game, and the game doesn't have to change per the line. And that's an advantage if you can do that well. And they do it better than anybody. But I think there's something that can be exploited there. Their defensive pairs are, I guess they've been really good. Forsling and Ekblad. They picked up Seth Jones at the trade deadline. Just a great pickup. Mikola's young, and Nate Schmidt's been around a lot. I think if Edmonton's going to exploit anybody, it's going to have to be this guy right here, Kolakov. I think Kolakov is definitely somebody who can be exploited, and he's not had great series throughout. And I think that's kind of the makeup of the team that I'm looking at when I'm looking at the Florida Panthers. And I'm thinking, if I'm Edmonton, that's who I think you could take advantage of. Let's get to the Edmonton Oilers. First, let me remove this and let me present a new one. I'm just loving this. I tell you what, the last 7 days being off has been a nightmare for the hockey Jesus. We're going to get at it. There are a lot of days in between, which really is not great. But you know what? That's just the way it is sometimes. Here are your Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton's really they're just completely different makeup than the Florida Panthers. Everybody knows about their big guys, Connor McDavid and Draisaitl right up the middle. That's where they make their living. I'm going to go over the stats to prove that. Connor Brown there, you can see, is the triangle, which means he's injured, but he's been practicing. I'm pretty sure that he's going to be on that third line. And Arvidsson and Janmark. You can see Kasperi Kapanen right here, formerly of the Pittsburgh Penguins and St. Louis Blues. He's plugged in because Hyman's out. He's not going to be playing, but he's been playing adequately for them. And I think the key definitely for Edmonton is this guy right here, Evan Bouchard. He's been phenomenal in the playoffs, and I know for a fact, you watch, Florida is going to run that guy and run that guy and run that guy. He's got to find a way to let Ekholm and Nurse and Kolak and Wallman be the guys that go get the puck on the wall, because if he's the first guy back, he's going to get brutalized back there. They're going to hit him every time. And I think that's going to be Florida's strategy moving forward. And let's talk a little bit about, let me just remove this from the screen. Let's talk a little bit about how each team got here. Really very similar pass. First, Florida. Florida really just took it to Tampa Bay, and Toronto, of course, took them 7 games. And Carolina, they took it to them. But here's the thing: like, there was not really one guy in any of those series who you could say took over. Like, for example, in Tampa Bay, Reinhart had 6 points. The next 5 guys had 5 points: Bennett, Kachuk, Lundell, Barkov, Luosterainen all had 5 points. So they're very well balanced, and that's a problem for the Edmonton Oilers. In the Tampa Bay series, Luosterainen was a +6, Marchand was a +5, and Seth Jones was a +5. So those guys were playing well. Bob had the worst goals against in the first round against Tampa Bay, and I think this is something that Edmonton can exploit. I think 3.8 goals for, 2.4 goals against. Really, 2.4 goals against isn't bad. Bob went 4-1 with a 901 save percentage. In the second round, Toronto really did a good job, but Marchand really was the guy who took them over the top. 8 points, he was their number one guy. 7 points from Luosterainen, and honestly, the next 4 or 5 guys all had 5 points. Once again, you got a different guy at the top, but the rest of the guys underneath, Barkov and Verhaeghe and Ekblad and Reinhart and Lundell, they all contributed. And then Carolina, this was completely flat. There wasn't a number one scorer. It was Barkov, Bennett, and Rodriguez and Kachuk, always 7 points. 4 guys at the top of the scoring charts, and Verhaeghe and Ekblad come in at 6 points and 5 points. Bob's really been unbelievable. He's got a save percentage around 2, and he's faced a lot of shots. And I think that is really going to be the key. Florida's power penalty kill has been incredible, 88% throughout the playoffs. Their power play has been at 23%. Not great, but good enough. I think their special teams are much better than Edmonton's, and let's get to that right now. Edmonton, for example. So Edmonton, everybody knows this. I'm not saying anything too special here. They rely on McDavid and Draisaitl, almost 1 and 2 in all 3 series with big points. 11 points for McDavid in the first series. Not so much in the second series, only 6, but he still led against the Vegas Golden Knights. And in Dallas, McDavid was tied for the top with Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins, who had a great series against Dallas. And I think he's going to have to continue that if they want to raise that Stanley Cup. Each had 9 points. Kulak's been great as of late, but he's been an enigma. Like, he was terrible in the Vegas series. He was a minus. He was a +8 in Dallas. He's going to have to be a little bit more steady against Florida if they want to do something. And let's not forget, we're talking about Skinner now because he's the guy that's playing. Picard was 4-0 in the first round. So, they kind of have an ace in the hole. If something happens to Skinner where he kind of blows up, they can put Picard in there and he can kind of calm things down. So they didn't have that. He was injured throughout some of the series before that. I think he got nailed in the head by Stahl or somebody like that in the Carolina game. No, that was the Toronto series. That's right. In the Toronto series, he was knocked out. But he came back, was able to play, but didn't need to play in the Dallas series. I think that's definitely something that Edmonton, can pull out should they run into trouble. And let's face it, their penalty kill is terrible, 66%, and their power plays at 30%. So slightly better than Florida, which, with all those guns going on, you would expect that. Here's where I think Edmonton can get the upper hand. If they can just do a little bit better on their penalty kill, don't let Florida get to the power play. Don't let them score power play goals. And if they can get that penalty kill for Florida from 88% to maybe say 75%, 70%, which, that's the average. That's where they've been. I think they're going to have a much easier time of beating Florida. If they don't, They're going to have to rely on somehow getting that puck out of the zone. And here's the thing that Florida does better than anybody. They're forechecking in the zone. Their inability to have teams break out of their offensive zone with speed, that's going to be a problem. I think Edmonton's going to have to work on that long pass, that pass that basically goes over three lines. And that's going to help break up that Florida defense. I would imagine that Knobloch's going to have something in place. After seeing them last year, they play the same game. Slightly different players, but they play the same game. Let's see what Edmonton does in game one to maybe exploit that. I think that's honestly, when I'm thinking about the Edmonton Oilers and I'm thinking about the Florida Panthers, I'm thinking about how those matchups are going to work, how Edmonton can break out of the zone, or will Florida be able to manhandle them, keep the puck in their offensive zone, and really just keep pucks going towards Skinner, and how will Skinner react to that? And the other thing too is if Edmonton is able to get the breakoffs, can they beat Bob on the other end? It's going to be a hell of a series, people. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for hitting that button. Hey, if you like what you're hearing, slam that subscribe button. We love you here on the porch. We're going to be here after every single series, after every game of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm just getting so excited. I'm losing my words. Thanks for hitting that button. I'll see you after game one. Don't forget, check out how Edmonton's breaking out of that zone. We'll get back here and we'll talk about it at the end of game one. Enjoy Stanley Cup playoffs.